Football season is coming to an end here in Rhode Island. When most of us feel that nip in the air and see the huge crowds gathering at Meade Stadium, we think of the performances of the players in blue and white on the field. But on this fall day in Rhody, we are here to talk about the men on the sidelines, whose tireless efforts behind the scenes and commitment to the sport have made the team what it is today. With their hard work, spirit, and love of the game, they are the often overlooked and always present backbone of the team. One coach in particular embodies that spirit and dedication and is synonymous with Rhody football. Bob Griffin has been a fixture in Rhody sports for decades. Griffin first came to Rhody in 1966 as an assistant under Jack Zille. He became head coach of the Rams in 1976 after spending 4 seasons as Idaho State's head coach. In 17 seasons as URI's head coach, Griffin won 79 games, more than any other coach in the school's history. Following his success at URI, Griffin went on to coach overseas in Germany, and after, was fortunate enough to join the staff at Syracuse, coaching many future NFL stars, among them Donovan McNabb. Retirement was never an option for Griffin, as his love of the game and his passion for coaching always brought him back to the sidelines. He returned to Rhode Island in 2008 and remains with the program today, his presence just as commanding as it was 40 years ago. Griffin was recently honored by the New England Football Writers Association with the George C. Carens Award for his lifetime of contributions to New England football. Speaking on his behalf, among others, was current head coach Joe Trainer.
There's a number of players that constantly call our office and stop by, and it's so neat to see them reflect on the impact as they're now grown adults. It's been referenced here a couple times, but sometimes you don't realize the impact the coach has on you until many years after you played your last snap. As accomplished as he is as a coach, he's even that much better of a person. So without further ado, the 2011 New England Sports Writers Association George Carens Award for lifetime contributions to New England football, Bob Griffin.
I had a chance to meet with legendary Coach Griffin at his home away from home, Meade Stadium, and to talk with him about his years of coaching with URI, his distinguished career, and what ultimately brought him back to Rhody.
Obviously, football's been a major part of your life since a very young age. When did you start playing?
Well, I actually started playing, I guess, when I was a freshman in high school, grade 9, which would have been the fall of 1954.
And, you went on to play college football. Where did you end up playing?
I played 1 year at the University of Delaware, and then I played 2 years, transferred to Southern Connecticut. Went 2 years there and graduated from Southern Connecticut in 1963.
Now, after playing, what led you to start coaching?
I started coaching immediately upon graduation, and when I graduated, I was looking for a coaching job. That's what I wanted to do, and because they're hard to come by, and at that time, in high school, anything I would have taken. And I had a couple of job opportunities teaching and coaching, but they were involved soccer and basketball, which I wasn't really working those capacities. And so I kind of put things on hold, and I was playing in a professional football league, Atlantic Coast Conference, Atlantic Coast League, and just kind of waiting to be drafted. At that time, you're going to be drafted. I don't mean into the football draft, I mean into the service. And I volunteered for the draft, put my name on the list, and started playing football. They started their season the end of July. And a gentleman who was one of my teammates in college and on this team, who is now the head of the Board of Trustees for the University of Connecticut, he had a call from his high school coach asking if he knew of anybody who would be capable of being a head high school coach and might be available. And this gentleman said that I would be capable of head coach that just graduated from college. So I went down and interviewed with a high school down in New York City, a Catholic high school, and they called me 2 days later and told me that I had the job. So about, I guess it was the first week in July, I all of a sudden went from somebody who was not employed to head coach at a high school down in Queens, New York. And that was Holy Cross High School, and that was my first job.
Now, when did you make the transition to coaching college football?
After 3 years at Holy Cross High School, we won 2 city and state championships. I had an opportunity to go into college coaching in 1966. '66, I had some calls from Hofstra, University of Maryland, University of Rhode Island, and I actually selected the University of Rhode Island for that group and came up here actually in July of 1966 as an assistant football coach here at the university.
Now, you worked as an assistant under Jack Silly.
Yes.
What did you learn from him, and what lessons did you take with you? You went on to become head coach yourself.
I learned a great deal from Jack. He was a great person. He had a great playing background. He had been an All-American in Notre Dame. He played about 10 years in the NFL. But he was a very good person. So I learned a lot about the passing game, I think, from Jack. And that was always an interest of mine anyway, as I was a quarterback through football. So Jack, but I think just about being a good person, it was great to be associated with a guy like Jack Silly. And he also advised me that make sure if you're going into coaching, make sure you get a portable retirement plan. Of course, I'm 26 years old. I'm thinking I'm not worried about retirement. But that was good advice. At that time, you had a choice of either the state of Rhode Island system or the TIA and CREF. And so I went into TIA and CREF, and unfortunately, that's what has funded my retirement. He said, if you're going to move around, you can't be in the state retirement system.
Right.
So Jack was very helpful to me. As I said, very, very good.
Okay. Now, in the 17 seasons as URI's head coach, you still hold the record for winning the most games out of any coach in URI's history. Now, how many games did you actually win?
I think here at the university we won 79.
That's incredible. Now, obviously you have very strong ties to URI. Talk about your time here and maybe some of the experiences that you had with the teams.
My first 4 years, as an assistant coach in the 1960s under Coach Silly, we had one real good season, championship type season. We didn't win the championship. We won 6 games and had an outstanding quarterback, Larry Caswell, who then signed a contract with the Cardinals, now the Arizona Cardinals, and the St. Louis Cardinals. We had a great receiver by the name of Frank Geisler, who ended up being an outstanding high school women's basketball coach and college basketball official. He was drafted by the Green Bay Packers. So those 4 years were, those were the two of the highlights of many. And the people you come across in coaching, I think, become the most important, and the people you get a chance to know. So then I left and went out to Idaho State University. I was out there for 5 years. Came back here in '76 as the head coach, and we had some good years in the '70s. '77 and '78 were successful seasons. We had a couple of tough years, '79 and '80, and then in '81 we started a run that for 5 years we were the winningest 1AA football team in the East, and we won 3 conference championships, went to the playoffs 3 times. So obviously you remember those things. I remember the first championship we won, and we won it at Meade. We had to beat the University of Connecticut in the final game of the season to win the championship, and we did that. We beat them 34-29, and then we had a couple of good years after that. That was '81, and in '83 we had a great football team, but we lost 3 games by a total of 4 points. So we just missed out on the championship. '84 we won it again. And that was a team that ended the season ranked as the #2 team in the country. We beat Richmond in the playoffs here. Then we went out to Montana State in the semifinals, and we were beating them 20-18 with about 3 minutes to play in the game. The roof fell in. We threw an interception. They ran back for a touchdown, and they beat us. They went on to win the national championship, and they said afterwards that they really won the national title when they beat Rhode Island, the best team in the country. And fortunately, we had a lot of those guys back again the next year, and we won it all again. We were undefeated in the conference. Played a first-round game here, played Akron University, beat them, and then went down and played Furman in the quarterfinals, I think, and Furman beat us. So that was a 5-year run. It was kind of magic that the stands were filled up every week here. And, that's the kind of thing we'd love to see back at Rhode Island, and hopefully with Coach Trainer and the team we could do that.
Definitely. Now, following your time at URI, you went on to coach elsewhere. Can you talk a little bit about your experiences after your reign at URI?
Yeah, right after I finished at URI in December of '92, in January of '93, I went over to Berlin, Germany. Someone had recommended me to the group over there that was looking to hire an American coach, and I went over there and had a great experience. Coached not in the NFL Europe, but in the German football league. And the majority of our players, if we had 45 players on the team, 40 of them were Germans. And we'd have five or six imports, I forget now exactly what we all had. But you could never have more than 3 Americans on the field at one time. And somebody said, well, how do they know who's American? Well, the Americans all had A taped on the back of their helmet. So the officials could keep track of who had the A's and how many Americans were on the field. So I coached there in their 93 season, and in the 94 season, and we were the top team in Germany, played the German Bowl in 94, and then I was going back in 95. In fact, I went back for preseason, and over there in Europe, preseason runs from in March. The season would start the end of April, and we would finish the end of September. So we'd run through the summer playing over there. And that was a great experience. I was back for the 3rd year, and I got a call from Syracuse University. The head coach there, Paul Pasqualoni, asked if I would be interested in coming back and being a pass game coordinator and coaching their receivers. So I did that, and then that opened another new chapter. And I had a chance to coach some great players there, Don McNabb, Martin Harrison, Kevin Johnson, just a large number of pro football players, guys who went on to the pros. And we won 3 Big East titles in 4 years. We went to 4 major bowl games. So that was a nice experience for me. And then I thought it was time to retire and enjoy my grandchildren. And I retired, but I only lasted about a year in retirement. And I went back to work at Holy Cross in Worcester. And I was there for 6 years as the offensive coordinator and award-winning coach. Retired again in 2006, and then when Darren Rizzi was hired here at the University of Rhode Island in 2008, he had played for me in the late 80s, and he asked me to come back and join him and work with him. And I did, and here we are 4 years later, and I'm still here.
Bob Griffin's impact on Rhody football is undeniable, and he will continue to be a strong presence in Rhode Island for many years to come. For GoRhody.com, I'm staff reporter Taylor Kinzler.